Kellyanne Conway, the advisor to Donald Trump, had an exchange with Chuck Todd of NBC. Now, this exchange was actually concerning the press secretary with his first public address towards the press, actually. And he made some very questionable statements. But amongst them, during this conversation, there was a sort of an implied threat that Kellyanne had made towards Chuck Todd. So we're going to listen to the clip and then we'll come right back and break it all down.
Then explain, you did not answer the question. Why did the president send out his press secretary, who's not just the spokesperson for Donald Trump, he also serves as the spokesperson for all of America at times. He speaks for all of the country at times. Why put him out there for the very first time in front of that podium to utter a provable falsehood? It's a small thing, but the first time he confronts the public, it's a falsehood?
Chuck, I mean, if we're going to keep referring to our press secretary in those types of terms, I think that we're going to have to rethink our relationship here.
You know, it's really funny that Kellyanne Conway would really say that. It kind of makes you wonder, like, well, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, you're gonna reevaluate our relationship. What, are you gonna ban us? Like your little ban list you had on the campaign trail? I think Kellyanne has the wrong idea of what the relationship between a news outlet and the Trump cabinet should be, because this is the situations where you set it up that way to where you react appropriately. You're supposed to have an adversarial relationship with the administration, whether it be Obama, whether or not it be Trump, so that when they on their bullshit, you need to be able to call them out on that shit. So I think that she is sort of painting the way. It's barely been a few days after the inauguration that she's already starting to show her true colors, that, hey, I'm in office. If you don't show me in a favorable coverage, then I'm just going to outright ban you. And, even though it's implied, you pretty much already get the idea of what the fuck she's talking about, because why the fuck would you even say some shit like that? A little bit further along in the clip, she spoke a little bit about how one of the news journalists during the press event had reported on some fake news. And, Chuck Todd said, well, that was immediately rectified, but she just kept on hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering on that point. And when he was trying to ask this question, why would you have your press secretary coming out there with all these falsehoods? She kept deflecting back to, well, why would he publish that fake story over and over again? And he said, hey, we rectified the mistake. It's all good. Okay, so let's talk about you. But this is sort of this is reflective of what is beginning to become or not even beginning. It's actually been that way of the Trump administration, of where they want to be able to call out the media whenever they make a mistake, whenever they say something that's not favorable or doesn't reflect Donald Trump in a favorable fashion. They want to be able to say that, even if it's true. They don't necessarily want them to actually report it in a way that makes him look bad. So they'll call him out and say, fake news, or it's biased, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, if the news fires back and asks them questions like, hey, what about this, yada, 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 or why did you have your press secretary come out there with all these fucking lies, which he really could have just told her that she was a fucking liar. I mean, he was being really nice about it. I mean, just saying. But he could have just called her out for it, but he didn't, just say falsehoods. So they want to be able to call them out on their bullshit, but they're not letting the news outlet call them out on their bullshit. So they're fucking hypocrites. So this is another step to where you're noticing that it almost seems like they want a state-run media at this point, to where they want to just curate the message to only what they want to be reported, and not actually the facts of what is actually being reported. And I have a very bad situation for her. Like for me personally, if I were Chuck Todd, I would have told her, just kind of off the cuff, I'd be like, yo, you do realize that I have like thousands of viewers, so I will pivot this ship around and I can make these bitches, well, I said bitches, but I will make these people think that you're a fucking terrorist. So do not play games with me. You need to answer these damn questions. So, sometimes you gotta strong arm people, but I mean, it is what it is. I think overall, the relationship with the media and the cabinet needs to be adversarial.